Welcome back to Established Dominance Fantasy Football. I'm your host, Ding, and the goal in this podcast is to finish our wide receiver conversation with wide receivers 41 through 60. We'll talk news and injuries from this weekend's preseason and those affecting this group, then look at the last 20 candidates. And if you enjoy this podcast, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and feel free to follow us on X. Okay, let's get caught up on the news. Ja'Marr Chase and CeeDee Lamb still have not been paid. I'd be surprised to see them go to the regular season without pay. Players don't want to risk losing any money and their future Hall of Fame status, so hopefully we'll get some news on that soon. The Aiyuk trade is on the rocks. Purcell's injury is making San Francisco rethink the deal. DeAndre Hopkins' knee injury apparently is not as bad, and he should be available, using my air quotes here, for week 1. I'm a skeptic, but we'll see. I've adjusted him to the top of this list today based on the update, but buyer beware. Tennessee still has a week 5 bye. Right now, I'm not dropping Ridley on the news, as they are only about 10 picks apart. Now, can Levis actually hit 2 high-quality wide receivers? Jury's out. Tyler Lockett has a knee injury, no specificity, so I dropped him in here. Smith and Jigba is getting drafted above Lockett right now, but I don't think the talent is equal. His true problem is Lockett keeps his production out of the top 40. If Lockett's knee is worse and Seattle is hiding it, then there's an issue. I'm trying to avoid these players if possible, hoping for more Lockett updates, but don't hold your breath. It is Seattle. Now you're caught up. Let's talk draft trends in ADP. We left off at the end of round 6 with the top 40. Now let's look at the next 3 to 4 rounds to get an idea where the next 20 receivers come off the board. In round 7, we have McConkey, Smith and Jigba, Hopkins and Worthy, and then Odunze, Addison, and Williams. And then in 9, we have Coleman, Thomas, Sutton, and in 10, Samuel, Dobbs, Shakir, Myers, Lockett. This last list of 20 is where I look for the number 2 wide receivers, any rookies who have great potential opportunity, and good bye week replacements for your starters. If you went run back heavy in the first 3 rounds, you'll have to find the best value you can in these rounds. And if you can get exposure to high-scoring offenses and teams that throw, even better. Here's my list of number 41 through 60. We'll use the same assumptions as we always do. The players will be available for at least 16 games because it can't predict injuries. We'll use PPR scoring. However, for this group, I wouldn't adjust my rankings at all for a non-PPR league. And then opportunities and potential are still the key to my list, but I'm looking for quarterback impact, team success, supporting cast, as well as bye weeks. So let's take a look. At number 41, I have DeAndre Hopkins. Mentioned it before, they updated his injury status. He's looking better, but Ridley could still take away some of his targets. He only put up 7 touchdowns last year. I think he'll put up the same. But can we support extra touchdowns and extra targets with Ridley? We'll see. At number 42, I have Xavier Worthy. Now, Hollywood is hurt. Rice, he could be in jail. And I think this is a good opportunity and potential pick here. A lot of people have Hollywood up at this point, but I would rather take Worthy. At number 43, I have Rome Odunze out of Chicago. Don't really know a whole lot about him other than he's had a decent showing in the preseason. Looks like he's going to be their number 2, and they want to get him the ball because he's so talented. They're willing to give it to him on sweeps and running. So that gives him some extra potential. So I have him at 43. At 44, I have Romeo Doubs out of Green Bay. He had 8 touchdowns last year with only 59 catches, so he's a huge red zone target, and it's a high-powered offense. Again, I want exposure to Green Bay. At number 45, I have Courtland Sutton. Okay, this is my first Denver wide receiver. I might have just vomited in my mouth, but he had 10 touchdowns last year and only 59 catches. He's a huge red zone target. I don't know if Bo Nix can get him the ball. He's a rookie. But again, this is a great potential opportunity, so I'm going with him. At number 46, I have Jordan Addison. I'm hoping he overcomes his injury. He had 10 touchdowns last year. I don't think Darnold's going to give him that. He might have some injury issues, but again, Darnold really limits his upside, but I still want some exposure to Minnesota. So I have him at number 46. At 47, I have Khalil Shakir out of Buffalo. Buffalo's a big question mark right now. He's one of the only remaining from the team from last year. He only had 2 touchdowns, but he's going to be a starter this year. He could potentially command the top targets. There is a rookie out there we'll talk about a little bit later, but I think he has the potential to put up 6 to 7 touchdowns, which puts him squarely in this area. At number 48, I have Gabe Davis. Now, Gabe's on a new team with Jacksonville. He had 7 touchdowns last year. I don't know if he'll get that much this year, but there were a lot of vacated targets from Ridley, so we'll see where those go. Right now, I think Kirk, if he stays healthy, will get the majority of those, but Gabe Davis is a speedster when healthy. He can stretch the field, and there's a chance there. At number 49, I have Keenan Allen. Now, Keenan ate way too much Chi-Town deep dish pizza and got fat, put on like 14 pounds. He's playing. He's a little bit bigger than he used to be, and he's on a new team. And last year, he had 150 targets. He's not going to get that in Chicago. There are a lot more mouths to feed there. And he had 7 touchdowns last year. His ADP is 61. He's going very, very high. I would avoid him unless he drops this far, which I don't think he will. Let somebody else draft him. But he has the opportunity and potential to be here at 49. At number 50, I have Tyler Lockett. Now, we talked about his injury. I don't know if he's going to be ready for week 1. Last year, he only had 5 touchdowns. That was a down year for him. He still had 122 targets. If he plays week 1 and all the way out throughout the season, he could see the same amount of targets, although Smith and Jigba is right behind him. I'm not sure that he exceeds the 5 touchdowns, but if he stays right here, he could still have a solid finish in the 41 to 60 range. At number 51, I have Curtis Samuel out of Buffalo. Now, again, here's another Buffalo player. We're not exactly sure how the mix of targets is going to figure out, but he's a solid player, and we've got to get some exposure to Buffalo because Allen just can't run in all of his touchdowns. Somebody's got to catch him. At number 52, I have Smith and Jigba. Now, he's going a lot higher than Lockett is, but he's never really had a starting role. And if Lockett's there, Lockett is still going to start. In his reserve or number 3 capacity, if you will, he caught 4 touchdowns off of 93 targets. If Lockett continues to play, that's about his ceiling. Now, he might get a couple extra touchdowns, which could give him a little bit more points, but he still falls within this 41 to 60 range. At number 53, I have Jameson Williams out of Detroit. I'm a Detroit fan, which is well known by this point. His ADP is 91. He's more than likely not going to be here by the time that you are drafting him. But if he is, he has great potential. Last year, he only had 2 touchdowns. Now, St. Brown commands all of the targets. But if they give him more of a playing share this year, you can definitely see this increase. I could see him finishing in the late half of the 41 to 60 range. At number 54, I have Marvin Mims out of Denver. Again, another Denver guy. I really don't have much to say on this guy because it's a rookie quarterback. Maybe he goes to Mims instead of going to Sutton. Sutton's the better bet. I go with Mims here at 54. I have to tell you, though, I don't like it. At number 55, I have Keon Coleman out of Buffalo. He's a rookie. We have yet to see what kind of impact he's going to have. But again, I'd like to get some exposure to this offense, and he's had a good summer. At number 56, Jalen Polk out of New England. I don't trust a whole lot of New England at all, but I'm willing to take a gamble on Jalen Polk because there's really no one else to throw to. At number 57, I have Brian Thomas out of Jacksonville. He has to beat some guys for playing time. But if Kirk has injury problems, Gabe Davis has injury problems, I mean, they both have injury histories, Brian Thomas could find himself as a starter and commanding the lion's share of targets. This could end up being a fantastic pick in the end. This guy could potentially in the back half of the season be the guy who's leading your team. So keep that in mind. At number 58, I have Tyler Boyd. Now he's changing teams. He's with Tennessee. Tennessee already has Ridley, and they already have Hopkins. So I don't really see as many targets going his way. Tennessee used to be a run-only team, or not run-only, but mostly run team. And last year, he only had 2 touchdowns and almost 100 targets. I don't think he gets 100 targets this year. It really comes down to the quarterback. But I see him being at the back end of this. He might even fall outside of the top 60. So at number 59, I have Xavier Legette. He's a question mark on his injury right now. There's nothing concrete when it comes to it. He is a rookie, and he's in Carolina. And that's a couple of big things going up against him. But he has a chance for playing time, especially if Carolina starts off really poorly. You could see them looking at him as, well, we need to give him an opportunity because we did draft him. And at number 60, I have Ricky Pearsall. He's hurt. San Fran's not really talking about him. If Ayuk doesn't get traded, Pearsall becomes the number 3. And with his injuries and other issues, I'm not sure this is a safe pick. But if he doesn't have injuries and Ayuk leaves, this is a steal pick at 60 because I think he's going to command a lot of targets. But if Ayuk stays, this guy could easily fall out of the 60. Here's a couple of bonuses outside the 60 I'd like you to monitor or even draft if you're going deep in best ball. At number 61, I'd take a look at Adonai Mitchell out of Indianapolis. He's a rookie, could potentially see a lot of playing time with the Josh Downs injury. At number 62, Jermaine Burton. If Chase continues to hold out, he's a rookie and he'll end up starting more than likely. And he's got talent. It's all dependent on Chase. Now, I didn't list Josh Downs, Deontay Johnson, or Hollywood Brown specifically because they're facing some pretty significant injuries. Now, if you're in a best ball contest, these are guys that are great to grab later than, say, round 9 or 10, knowing that their injuries are probably going to take them out of the first 2 weeks, if not more. They have a lot of potential, and there's some great talent there. But like Deontay Johnson out of Carolina, it's Carolina. Josh Downs, high ankle sprain, those can go really south really fast. They're saying, 4 to 6 weeks. I've seen those things go like 8 to 11 weeks. And then Hollywood Brown's got a really bad shoulder issue. He's probably out week 1, maybe week 2. Casey's by his week 6. Do they hold him out longer? If Worthy really pans out, which he's looking pretty good right now, maybe Hollywood Brown sits until after that. I doubt it. They gave him a lot of money, but just something to keep in the back of your mind. These rankings should help you finish out your wide receiver core. And keep in mind, rankings can change fast based on a lot of different factors, so monitor my X feed for updates. Before we sign off, I want to recognize our men and women in uniform who protect the freedoms we hold dear. Thank you for your dedication, service, and sacrifice. And finally, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and follow us on X, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts so you can stay up to date on our latest content. Next episode, we'll cover tight ends and draft strategy. And until then, remember, established dominance isn't just a catchphrase. It's a commitment. Are you ready?